4 out of 5 best performing networks are from the Middle East Africa region. Now, that itself is a testimonial that the telecom service providers are putting a lot of importance to drive the perfection, right? What do they want? They want to deliver the service with zero wait, zero trouble, and zero touch. And that's what autonomous networks deliver. And that's the reason the autonomous networks are so very relevant for Middle East Africa market. So once you talk about the sense means how do you collate the data from the networks, right? And once you talk about data, you're talking about 3 vectors. And what are these? You're talking about the volume, variety, and velocity, right? And once you talk about the volume, you know, the network operators have the CDRs, they call data records, the event data records, the EDRs, they've got the network logs, and we can go on and on. Honestly, I was stunned. I learned in some of the large CSPs, this data can run into 1 petabyte per day. So that's the magnitude of data that we are talking about. So that's about the volume. Now, when you talk about the variety, you have the structured data, which is the databases. You have the unstructured data, which is the voice and video. And then you have the semi-structured data like XMLs, right? So there is a variety of data that they have to take care of. And finally, the velocity. These events or discussions are happening on I would say on a minute basis, on second basis, and millisecond basis, right? So how do you get the data on a real-time basis? So that's the other challenge these service providers have. So that's on the sense pillar. What you do in thinking, you amalgamate the machine learning and AI, right? So that you can create some actionable insights out of this data, right? And once you have the actionable insights, then you have to act on those insights. While you act, think of it. You cannot just act because that may disrupt the business continuity, right? So you have to maintain the business continuity. At the same time, you have to maintain the customer experience, right? So that's where your Gen AI comes into play, right? So that's where you have the amalgamation of ML, AI, Gen AI into your sense, think, and act pillars. The telecom networks today have become the so-called digital nervous system of the national economies, right? And that's the reason these have become the high-value targets, right? If you talk about Middle East Africa, the DDoS attacks have increased by 100% in last 2-3 years, right? And telecom networks are becoming vulnerable because these are now far more open, they are software driven, and they are cloud native, right? And that's where autonomous networks can play a vital role. So autonomous networks can help not only to detect, but also defend and recover against the cyber attacks, not in minutes, but in milliseconds. When you talk about telecom, the key thing is, again, business continuity and customer experience. As Nokia, we understand these things inside out. Now, in cybersecurity, the first thing is you have to collect all the data, and you possibly would have heard about EDRs, which is endpoint detection and recovery. Now, if I go for a generic EDR, these are the heavy software solutions, and they sit near to the kernel of the application. Now, you would not like when you are talking to somebody that there is a lag coming in your communication. You would not like that you pick up the phone and it takes 15 seconds to set up the call. You would also not like that you want to watch certain thing on YouTube and it's buffering all the time, right? So that is something that we can help avoid by having the lightweight EDRs, and that's something which Nokia has done the innovation in. EDRs help us collect the data. Cyberdome helps us to visualize that data, create the topology, identify where are the weak links, and then how to overcome that. And that's where we work with the likes of Microsoft, where we take the advantage of their assets and we combine with our knowledge, and then we put the AI ML to ensure that we are protecting the network to the best of these abilities. sustainability is something that comes naturally to Nokia, right? Now, we have got thousands of RAN sites, the BTSs all over, right? They are consuming a lot of energy, right? And now it is hitting the EBITDA of the operator. So we run those intelligent algorithms where we bring those network equipment down, at the same time not impacting your customer experience. And hence we save the energy and we provide more sustainability. In next 4 to 5 years, most of the operators will advance to level 4 or beyond. And there are certain underlying factors which will make that happen. Some of those include the infrastructure. Some of these operators are on bare metal or virtual network functions, VNFs. Soon they will migrate to CNF, which is the cloud native, right? Now, CNFs would require things like uh, auto deployment, auto scaling, and assurance. And this can only happen if you have autonomous network coming into play. So that's one. The second one is about regulatory and policies. If you know, the TRAs, the TDRAs, the CRAs, the CITCs of this part of the world are already pushing for accelerated adoption of AI, right? At the same time, they want to be pioneer in 6G, right? And that can only happen if you have the foundation on autonomous networks.